Good evening and welcome to the Mary Murphy Files, our Monday night show on PIX11 Facebook Live. You know, we've been talking in recent weeks about how tough guys use social media to intimidate. We are going to begin tonight with the story of a young mom who witnessed her fiance's murder, and now she's getting a barrage of harassment on Instagram. Her name is Bridget. Her fiance was Jose Velez.
Jose wasn't in the gang.
Even though he may have hung out with people that were connected?
These people weren't in the gang, from what I was told.
Jose Velez was a 22-year-old dad who liked to make his daughter Mooney laugh. His fiancée, Bridget, told us Jose left street life 5 years ago when she started dating him.
These people were his roommates.
The people that shot him?
Yes. You know, we're making money together.
Bridget said she and Jose, known as Jay, struggled as a couple, even living in shelters at one point, but they started to deliver food with their baby.
It's like Uber Eats. It's called Grubhub. And we did it all three together.
But Jose was upset with his former roommates, two brothers, and Bridget says one of them, Thomas Bowles, stopped the couple on June 19th when they were driving on Van Nest Avenue after dropping off their daughter with a babysitter.
He went in his headphones, he spoke in his speaker, and he said, "Jay's here, pull up." I heard my husband say, "You guys jumped and stabbed my little brother, you get no points." Mike came up to the car, he just pointed the gun right on his chest and shot one time. And then Jose just drove off immediately.
But Velez crashed his Honda several blocks later.
When he was in my arms gasping for air, he was just basically choking on his own blood.
Suspect Thomas Bowles was arrested in South Carolina, but his brother, Michael Rodriguez, the alleged shooter, remains at large.
He got a halo on his head. That's the angel, right? I tell her he's with Jesus in heaven and we'll see him later.
Yet there's no peace for Bridget, who's now getting bombarded with Instagram threats, with one page created under her father's upstate address and a Florida address, showing slain Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar in the profile picture.
They're posting pictures of the house outside, basically a picture of a girl wearing a shirt saying "Stop snitching." They said we got hitters out here too. YG, Patria.
Patria is a term used by Trinitarios, something Bridget said she didn't know.
But I just keep blocking and blocking and they make more and more accounts. I'm not gonna run from these guys. I'm not scared of them. And I don't believe that just because you could shoot someone, you'll put fear in my heart. You did this to my husband, yes, but you're not gonna sit here and threaten me.
That is a very brave young woman. She is staring down the harassment. And that's something we're going to talk about tonight with my two guests. Very grateful that you're here. Nadine Sylvester from the Rohan Levy Foundation. Ms. Sylvester lost her son just last year, only 15 years old, to gun violence, mistaken identity. Basically, bullets were sprayed when he stood on a sidewalk in Brooklyn, where there's also a big problem. And Melody Jimenez from the Bronx. And you lead a group called No Voice Unheard. And we know that this past weekend, there were 4 shootings and 2 stabbings just on Saturday. And we're wondering if witnesses will come forward in those cases. Let's start talking about this witness intimidation. You did have an arrest in your son's case, so obviously there was a witness that helped the police.
Yes, we did have a witness. However, I mean, the intimidation is everywhere. There is another person who was involved in the shooting as well. And young people in my community in Brooklyn are afraid to come forward, and no one has corroborated the shooter's story or pointed at the other person that was in the car because they've been intimidated. There were other young men with Rohan, I mean, this is on our block near our home, that were also shot at when my son got shot. There was another young man that was shot as well, and they can't walk in their neighborhood because they've been intimidated by the gang members who shot at them when they were walking down the street.
So are they still living there, or are they just staying in the house, or?
Some have moved. I have Rohan's friend who was a really good friend, hasn't spoken to me. He's a kid who used to like sit on my stuff all the time, ate at my house, has not been able to associate with me anymore.
You just told me this is your first interview. Well, we're doing it on a Facebook show, but you've done a little bit of newspaper interviews, but it's difficult for you. It's just over a year since this happened.
A year and 6 months this Thursday. It's been hard. And we decided to start the foundation, my family and I, because we wanted to be on the ground and working around how we change this in our community. Although, our mayor has been saying that crime is down, it is down, which is remarkable. However, it hasn't gone down for young people of color, especially young men continue to be shot and killed on the streets of Brooklyn, the Bronx, at a higher rate than any other place.
Yeah, there were 4 teenagers in 1 week, I believe it was in July. So that's something really hard to put your arms around.
We have young men dying in the middle of the day, right? Latrell was walking with his girlfriend down the street, didn't know the guy got shot right in front of a library, which is supposed to be another safe space for our young people to really engage.
You did everything right with your son. You're a social worker. Your son was going to high school. What did he want to do?
He wanted to be an architect.
An architect. And so that's really a beautiful profession. And in fact, you started a scholarship in your son's honor. And we have a photo of 2 people who have benefited from that, 2 young men of color.
Correct.
Because you're trying to benefit the community the best you can. Why did you decide to do this very soon after your son was killed?
I had to be on the ground. We have a number of organizations in New York City that work on gun violence, but obviously it's not enough. They continue to be poorly sourced. They don't have enough funding to do the work widespread across New York City. It's not a high-paying job if you work in an organization that does gun violence prevention or youth development work, and it's such a treasured thing. We have young people who are walking around who have, feelings of loss, of loneliness, and this is why they're joining gangs. And so I decided to do something that was going to foster real community building and provide for our young people so that they know that they have someone who cares about them, there's opportunity for them, and that there's something broader than where we live every day.
You're giving them a choice, okay. Melody, I wanted to talk to you about what you're doing now. You have your poster here. You live in the Bronx.
Yes.
That's where Junior was killed. And when I profiled the Jose Velez story, Velez was killed the day before Junior.
was.
Did not get as much attention, obviously. But a lot happening in the Bronx. So what are you doing now in October?
Well, October I have a youth anti-violence
You must
walk.
hold up your poster there.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the walk. These are the kids that have been killed this summer.
And girls as well as boys.
Yes.
We actually have a full screen of that poster, I believe. There it is right there. And you're having it in...
McCombs Dam Park. It's the park across the street from Yankee Stadium. It's going to be between 12 and 3.
What's the date?
October 20th.
October 20th, okay.
Yes.
And I know Junior was killed on June 20th. So it'll be about 4 months after.
Correct.
And we're hearing also, there's sort of breaking news, we're getting some social media notifications that some kind of a ruckus has broken out near the deli, the bodega, where Junior was killed, because people are saying that it might have reopened with another family member of the previous owner. We certainly don't know whether that's totally accurate, but that is what people are saying on social media. So there was some kind of unrest there this evening. And what are the alternatives for our young people this summer? Some that I met when I did my special report on social media and gang violence were saying they were staying in the house.
That is accurate. My brother, who is very close in age to my son, they're a few months apart, changed his whole life losing his best friend. He doesn't go outside. He's just like, why should I? He feels unsafe. And that's the most children that I've worked with now.
Yeah, that was the noise from our cell phone. You know, people are writing in and, well, they're saying that they feel badly for the woman that was being intimidated, and they feel badly for the little girl, her daughter, and saying it's just not right. But so she's standing tall. I mean, a lot of people don't stand that firm. They do. They leave town. I mean, in fact, I was told that she was advised to leave town.
Right. Jose Velez's mother is actually in Florida right now. She left. So did Valana Roberts. Her mom left to Massachusetts as well. A lot of these kids' parents have relocated from where they actually lived because they felt unsafe in the community. So that's why I decided to do this work, so we can create community peace building and teach the youth that it's okay to tell, it's okay to be honest. I mean, we have to create an environment where everyone feels safe, even going to the store. A lot of people don't even want to go to the store because they feel so unsafe with all the violence.
And why do you think
communities.
it's happening?
The intimidation of the gangs.
The lack of resources. You continue to take money out of schools, right? Schools are overcrowded. You're going into a school system that feels like a prison. You walk in, you have to be searched, you need to take your belt off. It's a process to get in to be educated. that already changes your mindset around why you're here. The violence in the community, you continue to see people dying around you, and you're not being treated for that. There's also a lack and a stigma around services around mental health. You have young people who are dying behind. They're experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder even if they don't know it. They relive that trauma all the time, losing their friends. They're not getting services for it. And so it's multifaceted why violence is happening in our communities. Gangs are on the rise because young people don't have a place to go. They don't have a place to go, and the gang provides that nurturing environment. And I'm going to be quite honest. You have young people who are living in precarious situations. They're kicked out of their homes or they're evicted, and a gang member may provide a space for someone to stay on a couch, right? Or provide food and clothing. And then with the rise of violence, they provide safety for someone to walk down the block. That's big when you have nothing else.
It's sad that you need protection to walk down your block.
It is a reality.
And you get protection in school as well, I guess. And in fact, what I've been told is that recruiting by the gangs goes on inside school.
Yeah.
Did your son ever have to navigate through all this when he was in school?
I mean, it wasn't something, I'm going to be quite honest, it wasn't something we talked about in our home because he went to school, he had great grades, he had great attendance.
And the name of the school that he went to?
The Williamsburg School for Architecture and Design.
And that's where the scholarship is?
The scholarship currently is only at those schools. Because that's where he went. And when he passed, I was making final arrangements and speaking with his principal, and he said, "What would you like to do?" And at that time, Carmen Farina was at the chancellor, and I said, "This is what I'm going to establish."
And one of them is going to Howard University.
One
of
is
the
at
students?
Howard. He's in his second year. He starts next week.
What's his name?
Jalen Vasquez.
Okay.
And Kenneth Nelson is our second recipient for this year. He is going to Rochester Institute of Technology.
That must make you so proud that you're doing something so positive in your son's name.
They are. I mean, they do make me very proud. We had a skating party for them a few weeks ago, a college send-off for them. And to see Jalen mature over this year has been amazing. He had an internship, which is going to be amazing. They're funded all the way until they graduate college, up to 5 years, and provided with mentorship. So they will be mentored by architects and engineers in the hopes that when they come home in the summer as well, they'll have internship opportunities.
Wouldn't it be remarkable if so many more children could have that opportunity?
Right.
Well, I pray that that's what we're going to be able to do over the next couple of years as the foundation continues to grow. Actually, we're looking to provide not only scholarships at Williamsburg High School, but to expand in the next couple of years. But again, that takes funding. This started from our personal money, and then now we've been receiving donations.
You have a beautiful website, and I hope that we can get some information about that on our website so people can go and perhaps donate and see what you're about, because I was impressed.
And advocate. So it's not just about money. I know a lot of people don't have, extra income, but volunteering your time, coming to these walks are going to be important so that people see that your voice is part of that, right? The collective. When young people pass, they have no voice. Mm-hmm. So coming out provides that space for them to have a voice. Mm-hmm. Advocating. There are 3D guns that that could be printed now. Advocating that be taken down so young people are not getting access to that.
I want to read some of the comments. You brought up the mental health aspect of this and post-traumatic stress syndrome, and one of the viewers agrees. Yes, her name is Yvonne Mua. Yes, mental health plays a huge part. It's a huge issue in the violence. Thank you for bringing that up, because we don't hear it that often. Do you agree that that's true in some of what's happening in the Bronx?
Because before I started No Voice Unheard, I was actually an advocate for suicide.
Yes.
Because I realized a lot of kids do commit suicide due to lack of love, the bullying, just different things within their community that make them feel like that. So I do believe mental health is a major issue that needs to be recognized within the schools as well.
Yeah. Someone else was bringing up discipline. Cielito Esguerra Parfin is one of our viewers right now, and she said discipline really starts inside your house. I was raised up by my parents as a God-fearing and respectful person, and with today's era of gadgets, it's basically the lifestyle of the kids, and the way they interact with the adults isn't really healthy. And I would say that the gadgets, the iPhones, all the technology, sometimes that's not helping in terms of relationships, in terms of how we interact with each other.
Very true.
Yeah.
I would add to that as well. New York City rents are so high. So parents are working 2-3 jobs at times in order to put food on the table and pay rent. And so they're not as engaged at home anyway. So that's also another issue that's creating, this violence backdrop, or young people being engaged more outside the house or on social media, because gangs are not on the corner anymore. They're organizing through social media, whether it be on Snapchat. I mean, you can go on right now to like Vlad TV or Mel's TV, and they're like having a whole video on the rise of the folks in Brooklyn or in the Bronx. Like, they have real platforms now that they don't need to be on the corner anymore. So it's multifaceted. It's not just one thing. It's a plethora of things that creates this space of violence now.
So by you getting involved and starting this foundation, is that what got you through this trauma? Because this was your only son, your oldest child, and you have 2 daughters.
Get through is a strong. I don't think I'm ever going to get through. Every day I'm processing. There are highs and lows to grief. And that's another thing that I think people don't understand. They think you kind of get over it, and you just never do. Like, the space is always there. I'm always cognizant my son is not here. Like, I know. The foundation is really a place so that this doesn't happen to someone else's child. We always think, sometimes when you see something on TV, you're like, oh, that can't happen to me. I went to college. I have my master's. I lived in a, fairly middle-class neighborhood. My kid went to school. He did really well. I went to every parent-teacher conference. My children are overly engaged in activities outside of school, whether it be, leadership, football, all these other things. We come from a pretty strong family. And so you don't think that's going to happen to you. Violence impacts us anywhere, anyhow. I mean, you could be in bed and get shot.
Right.
That has happened through the wall, right? So this was my way of making sure that I was not going to be sitting and say, everything else is the problem. I am going to bring the solution. No other child should be dying from violence. It's something we could prevent. The same way that we do screenings for breast cancer, colonoscopies, this is the same way that we need to attack the violence that's happening in the community. On the ground, all of us getting together and saying, we are going to put out things to ensure that this doesn't happen.
Well, if you have a benefit, I'm going to be there, because you're remarkable. You are really remarkable. And Nadine Sylvester, thank you so much for being with us this evening on Facebook
you.
Live. And Melody Jimenez, once again, if you want to hold up the poster and tell us
Yes.
about the march.
Well,
No
the-
Voice Unheard.
Yes, the marches, I'm bringing a lot of youth out. They're going to be talking about their friends, speaking from their point of view on how the loss impacted them. Their moms are going to be there mostly, because I do want the moms to engage in this walk, to let people know that it affects the moms as well. These are mothers that are losing their kids. You know,
I mean,
and
that's
what they need to
everyone's
think
greatest
of.
fear. Can you, when I started doing the junior story this summer, the people that started following my page were all mothers.
Yes.
Thousands of mothers started following my page because of every update that we were giving on each arrest, on each development in the case.
It is something
So,
that's not even imaginable.
yeah, I mean, I cannot imagine it. So I'm very sorry for your loss, but I applaud you for what you have done.
Thank you.
And I really, I thank you also for all your community
And this Thursday, we'll be
advocacy.
having a gun violence summit in Brooklyn at Kings County Hospital. It starts at 6:30, specifically around unsolved murders, homicides. Because of the gang intimidation, many of the young people, although they know who have committed crimes, are afraid of snitching, and they do not come forward. And so this is going to be a platform for, people, parents that have been impacted by gun violence, to really talk to the community about how that impacts all of us. The person who's committing a crime that's not going to jail for committing a crime is often going to reoffend. And so
Commit
there
another
needs to be
crime.
exactly, so it doesn't stop. And so this is a cry of like, hey, we need to get together and really talk about how do we have a conversation in our community about holding those accountable for these injustices.
Well, I hope that this webcast will be shared, because what was said here is really food for thought, and a lot of really important things were
Well,
said. And I
thank you.
thank you both for being here. I thank our viewers for joining us. I hope you will share this particular show, because it was a very important show. And I hope you'll be back next week for the Mary Murphy Files on Monday night. Thank you very much again, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.